Humans, what have you learned?
We've got a beautiful ride ahead of us, and we will start here in Saltash, and we're going to work our way all the way to the Tor Point ferry, and depending on if I want to keep riding or not, I'll decide whether I want to go back across to Plymouth. If not, I'll turn around and ride the same route back. So you might find yourself, as a new rider, looking to get into motovlogging, or on your process to get your license, thinking about wanting to do YouTube content, TikTok content, any of that kind of content. And as somebody that is at the very beginning of that journey themselves, I thought I'd share some of the hardships and frustrations and things that I've sort of started to find out now that I've been riding and doing some motovlogging for a little bit. The things that I'm finding hard at the moment are figuring out all the settings still. You know, figuring out how to get the best audio quality, how to get the best video quality, the settings to use, the ND filters to use, whether the automatic settings work or whether you really need to get into the fine-tuning of your settings to make the vlog best. And I'm learning this as I go. So, as seems to be like the major topic of this channel at the moment, is the audio quality. Now, if you look at this comment right here, a guy's giving me a good suggestion, so I'm going to give it a go. So that's what we've done. We've puttied up the entrances to the connectors of the mic. I've also turned all of the automatic wind reduction off, which seems really counterintuitive, but I've turned it off. I've got a dead cat and the standard little spongy thing that goes over the mic, so there's some wind protection there, so hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. I'm sure I'll find out very soon in the edit. So thank you very much for that comment, and if it's worked, then I owe you a cup of coffee. And I am truly blessed to live in where I live, because where I live is just full of these gorgeous, amazing roads, and there's sort of a bit of everything for what you could ever want. As a motorcycle rider around here, I've got big open A roads that are dead and you can just really let loose on them, and there's also beautiful twisty roads, gorgeous scenery, coastal paths. So very, very lucky to be where I'm at, to enjoy this experience and enjoy learning, and hopefully views like this aren't too bad for the viewer to look at, you know. So if you are finding yourself wanting to start getting into motovlogging and you're currently researching motovlog setups and what gear do I need and all of these things, hopefully I can answer a couple of those questions for you. One thing that I know is that the recommendation, a very popular recommendation for a microphone, is the one that I'm using currently, which is the Purple Panda. Obviously I've had my own struggles when it comes to the microphone audio quality, and it's too early for me to tell whether that is the mic's problem or my problem, you know. So, but plenty of recommendations that say this is a great mic, it's really cheap, it's currently 26 quid on Amazon or something like that. I'll put a little image there for you, you can see it there. So that's the microphone I'm using, and actually when I'm not going fast it seems to handle itself okay, and my audio's clear for the most part. In terms of routing the microphone in the helmet, that's something that I didn't really see that much on when I was doing my research. Really, it obviously depends on the helmet where you're going to be able to put the cable in. I have the HJC, what do they call it, RAF 70, whatever it's called, carbon. The lining on the inside of it is actually really nice for putting the mic cables on, because the lining, you can kind of feed it up through the back of the lining and into one of the cheek pads, and the cheek pads have got a nice little pop-up spot where you can sort of unpop it, shove the rest of the cable in there, because the cable's really long, and put the mic in a nice spot. So technically right now my mic is actually up by my temple, it's not actually down by my cheek at all. I found on the little test that I did with it by my cheek, I was just getting too much wind noise, and the temple seemed to be an okay spot for it where I wasn't getting too much interference. Now in terms of camera, I have the GoPro Hero 11, which is fucking amazing. It's absolutely astounding quality, and I love it to pieces. There's amazing settings on there, you can really fine tune. I have had quite a bit of experience using other GoPro products. I've used the 7, I've used the 8, and I'll tell you that the 7 and the 8 are great, and I don't think you need to break the bank to get a good camera. If you look on Facebook Marketplace, what is this person doing? If you look on Marketplace, you'll find yourself a nice little deal of somebody. Just make sure you test it first, record a video, then play it back on the camera, and if you've got the ability to take a laptop so that you can export the footage onto a laptop, that would be really helpful, just to make sure that's all working fine. Another thing I'd strongly recommend about the cameras, get some extra batteries. The battery life on them is about an hour and a half when you're recording at 5.3K at 60 frames per second. It can kind of drain really fast. I've lowered my frame rate down to 30 currently, because I'm just trying to get a little bit more life out of it before it dies. But I did buy 2 extra batteries and the mount where you can charge them. It's been a godsend, honestly. It's so good to have it. And I wear a little over-the-shoulder bag that I have the spare batteries in, so if I'm ever riding for a long time, I can pull over, swap the batteries out, and know that I've got a lot of charge, because the memory card obviously can hold, well, depending on the memory card size I suppose, but the memory card can hold a lot more than just 2 hours worth of footage. And in terms of advice that I'd give, I'm going to open my visor, it's my nose. If there's any advice that I can give to someone that's thinking about this, it's just go and fucking do it. I don't feel like you need to create the perfect content straight away. I feel like you just need to get out and do it, experience it, make content, make videos, see what works, see what doesn't, see what settings are the best for you in your area and your situation. But I don't think it is necessary at all to go out and buy, you know, the newest GoPro with, you know, an incredible lavalier mic, external with voice recorders that you audio sync all up to, and really go. I don't think that's necessary at all. I actually think it's a hindrance, because you then have more pressure on yourself to produce much higher level content. When you start with something less, you give yourself more room for grace. And in terms of what to do, what to make, and when to upload it, again, it's the same as trial and error. Some of the videos on my channel so far have got 600-700 views, some of them have got 30 views, you know, and I'm just trying different forms of content, different forms of thumbnails, different titles. I'm just seeing what works. And a massive shout out to my boy Rommel. He is been a biker his whole life pretty much, since he was a little squirt. He taught me how to ride. He's been giving me loads of advice as I go through this journey. His thoughts on upload times, his thoughts on gear, which is another video that I'm going to be making very soon, which I think his insight has been invaluable. And I think that's, if you can find a friend in the community, biker community, or just one of your friends that rides, if you're lucky enough to have one, and discuss these things, I think that makes a big difference, and it really helps. Oh, sorry, this is one of the first roads I rode on when I got my license. That's a mud. And as a brand new rider, this road, and the one that I'm not going to that road, but it was a coastal path just up here. That road was not a great road to go on for my first, my second ever ride. It's way too narrow, way too windy. The road surface is poor. But now I've been riding a couple of months, I felt a bit more confident to come out and try it again, and yes, way different. And if you're making content, you've got topics you want to talk about, another thing that I'd really recommend, ride roads you know. Ride the roads that you've ridden, that you've driven around, or you've been in taxis around. Those are the roads you want to go on. Because if you're talking and you're thinking about what you're saying, you also don't want to be trying to figure out what the hell the road's doing. Another thing that I've noticed from being on the POV of the seat to what the content looks like and how the content gets translated, you don't get, watching the video, you do not get any sense of the speed or the acceleration that comes from this bike. It all looks so slow. Now, one of the settings that I played with this was turning on hyper smooth. So hyper smooth, if you have hyper smooth on, it obviously smooths out everything, and if you don't, it makes it look way more dramatic. But when it looked dramatic, it looked, again, unprofessional. It just looked shaky. I didn't like the look. I prefer the look of hyper smooth. However, it makes everything look much slower. The other thing I've tried to work on is my field of view. And what I've been finding with that is, if you use hyper view, the biggest view lens that they have on our GoPro, it can kind of mess with the edges a little bit. But I prefer to show as much of the road as I can, especially because I've got this screen, I've got this blackout screen, which kind of causes a bit of an issue when I want to go fast and I tuck in and you can't see shit, you know. So big lens field of view for you, so you can kind of sit over the top of the bike until I get this replaced, and I am going to get this replaced, get a smoked one or something, or even just a clear one for the content. If you've watched a few of my videos, you'll start to notice is the development of the editing. Now, everyone kind of has their own editing style, I get that, and everyone kind of develops their editing style, and that's what I'm kind of trying to work on doing now, like have a signature editing style that is me, you know. And because I didn't know what that was, I didn't want to just try something extreme and not like it and try something else and, you know, make it like I'm right in the middle of this road, and make it choppy. I was just adding little bits as I go, and you know, in the last video I added some of those social media roles, which I strongly recommend having, they're great. And then started adding some text and stuff in there. In this video you're seeing, I'm trying some new things, where I'm trying the Google Studio thing that I was working with. Really cool little tool that is. And add some more imagery in here just to sort of break it up a little bit. And my thought on it for new content creators and people that are getting into motovlogging or thinking about getting into motovlogging, just make some you know, find some software that you like. You know, there's free ones out there. DaVinci Resolve's got a nice free package, or I have access with my job currently. I have access to the Adobe Premiere Suite, so I'm using that currently. And find some software you like, just get used to using it. Start simple, just cut and delete dead air and trim it together, and trim together a video that has some nice flow to it, a nice feel to it. I'm all for watching tutorials and learning how to do things, and if there's an idea that you have or an effect that you want to add in, by all means jump on a YouTube tutorial video and learn that technique or that specific thing. What I'm not for is developing an entire editing style based around somebody else's ideas. It might have been something that worked for their channel, it might have been something that worked for their content, but your content's going to be different. And one of the things that I'm trying to portray most of all in these videos, and it's why I've left all of the bad audio and all of the bad things in, is authenticity. I want this to be a real experience, and I think that comes through a lot in what I'm trying to do, is that everything I'm doing is real. It's not, you know, staged and put together, which I believe you would fall into the trap of if you start just using other people's content and other people's templates on what to do. You know, the title screen that I made at the top of the video, I made that in Canva. The music, there's a brilliant website, YouTube channel, sorry, I'll link it below. That YouTube channel, they basically have this catalogue of copyright free music, and there's loads of tracks on there, and they're all kind of electro dancey tunes, but there's so much variety that you'll find what you like. I spent half an hour going through them and just found one that kind of fit my vibe and my style. So all of those were all free, you know, it didn't cost me anything. I didn't pay someone to make me a logo, I didn't pay an editor. I'm doing 30, what are you talking about? He says, well, I'm not doing 30. Okay, so this is the end of the journey. We now find ourselves in the not so beautiful area of Tavistock. I'll get to the end, to where the ferry is, and I think I'm enjoying myself. So instead of getting on the ferry and going back across to Plymouth where I live, I think I'm going to turn around and come back. People just crossing the street. Didn't even look. Okay, and now we find ourselves at the Tavistock ferry. Which I don't really want to do. Can I get out of here?